Afternoon, Bill O'Leary, coming to you live. Bill O'Leary here, a lawyer from a legacy planning law group and estate and elder law attorney. So I'm coming to you live on this Thursday. Today's date is June 17th, and it's part of our Thirsty Thursday series. And the reason why we call it Thirsty Thursday is because we are providing knowledge that you might be thirsting for. And so again, every Thursday I sort of go live and talk about a topic that maybe sort of struck my fancy earlier in the week, and something that you might be interested in. So, if you're thirsting for knowledge, as I like to start off these things by saying, if you're thirsting for knowledge, you've come to the right place. So, today's topic is creating a legacy for your pet. Creating a legacy for your pet. Look, planning for our four-legged loved ones can be just as challenging as planning for the two-legged loved ones, like the kids. So, clients will usually ask, hey, for my pet, do I need a will or a trust to do this? And the answer is, it depends. It depends. So, look, planning for pets, there are a number of issues or things to consider. How many pets do you have? What type of pets are they? Do they have any sort of unique care needs? Where do you want the pets to live if you die or become incapacitated? Do you want them to live at home, maybe with family or friends, maybe in some sort of conservatory or sanctuary? What financial resources are going to be provided? Are you going to provide for them to make sure that they're cared for? Who's going to be responsible for providing the daily care? And then who's going to be responsible for handling the financial assets that are left for the pet's care? And those two roles, the daily care and sort of the financial management, may be filled by the same person, but it may not be. So again, these are just a few of the questions to consider when planning for a pet. So the first step in good pet planning is to identify who will have physical custody, the actual custody of the pet, and provide them with the care. So that's before any financial or legal issues are addressed. You have to feel comfortable. You have to feel comfortable with your pet's caregiver. So for some, this can be a challenge. Now, a common first choice of family and friends. Family and friends. However, never assume that a family member or friend is willing to provide the care without getting their agreement in advance. You don't want them to be surprised. And look, there are too many situations where pet parents, as the owner of the pet, just assume that a family member or friend is gonna take on the pet care responsibility, and that they ended up not, okay, for whatever reason they couldn't, and the pet ended up in a shelter. Okay, frankly, it's estimated that there are over 500,000 pets each year that are euthanized in U.S. Shelters because pet parents didn't have a solid plan for the care of their pet if they became incapacitated or died. So when choosing a pet caregiver, here are some important factors to keep in mind. Is the person responsible and committed to caring for your pet for the rest of their life? Or maybe you should ask, does this person you have in mind already have pets of their own? Okay? Will the new pets cause any issues for the caregiver's existing pets if they do have pets? Find out what plans the caregiver has for their own pets if something happens to them. That'll give you a pretty good indication of their level of commitment. So again, never take for granted a person's willingness to serve in this role. Even the best of intentioned people can experience life changes that prevent them from fulfilling their responsibilities. So it's always good to have backup caregivers. Okay? Now, you'll need to think about how much money should be left for the lifetime care of your pet. If your pet, let's say, will be staying in your home, well, there'll be the added expense of maintaining the property, taxes, insurance, maintenance, that sort of thing, even utilities. Now, you should also consider compensating the caregiver, providing some sort of compensation for the caregiver. And of course, you're going to need to know, well, how much is enough? And sometimes that's sort of hard to gauge. How much is going to be enough? You should base it on how much money is being used right now for the pet care. And then a good sort of rule of thumb is just assume your pet's going to live a long time, because you don't want the caregiver to run out of money. And don't forget the cost of your pet's death. Some people actually use life insurance for that purpose to fund those expenses. Now, there are a lot of choices for planning for pets. Some people choose to leave their pet along with a fixed sum of money, again, to family or friends, like I said. But if you think about it, this is the riskiest option because there's no way to sort of guarantee or ensure that the money is going to be used for the proper care of the pet. Um, you know, the person that your family or friend may use it for some other purpose. But other people want more certainty, and so what they will do is establish a trust that will last for the lifetime of your pet and provide lifetime care. So a pet trust, that's what we're talking about. A pet trust can be included as part of a will. But actually, I think it's much better to create a pet trust as part of not a will, but part of a revocable trust, or even as a standalone pet trust. So there will be immediate access to the money after you die to care for the pet. Remember, if you have a pet trust as part of a will, there may very well be a delay in getting the money to care for the pet because the will is going to have to go through probate. Okay, so remember, your pet's going to need care on day one. Again, you don't want your caregiver to have to endure months of delay going through probate before getting access to the money that you earmarked for the pet. So having a pet trust as part of a will means probate and the delays that come with probate. So again, don't stick your caregiver with that mess. Better practice is to include a pet trust as part of a revocable trust. Now, if you create a pet trust, selecting the trustee to manage the money for the pet's benefit is a critical part of the plan. It really is, okay? The trustee is responsible for making sure that the terms of the pet trust are followed. So ensuring also that the pet is receiving the proper care for the rest of the pet's life, and making sure that the property is dispersed from the trust in a wise manner for the benefit of the pet. Now, the trustee can be the same person as the pet caregiver, although this is not always a good idea because it can sort of create a potential conflict of interest. The caregiver might be tempted to use the money in the trust for their own purpose rather than the pet. So sometimes it's better to name a professional trustee, such as, let's say, a trust lawyer or a CPA, or maybe a charity that's qualified to act as a trustee. Animal Care Trust USA is a popular nonprofit charity that's dedicated to acting as a trustee for pet trusts. And if you want to learn more, you can go to www.act4pets.org. ACT, the number 4, pets.org. By the way, we here at Legacy Planning Law Group, we prepare pet trusts. We can help. We can help. So look, planning for a love pet does not mean merely thinking about what happens to your pet when you die. You also want a plan in place if you become disabled or incapacitated. Or maybe, what about in the event of a natural disaster? What will happen to your pet? Let's say if you end up in a nursing home or an assisted living facility that does not accept pets. Or who can provide, again, back to the natural disaster scenario, who can provide for your pet if a natural disaster prevents you from returning home or prevents you from taking your pet in an evacuation. So here you should consider naming sort of a short-term caregiver, almost like a pet sitter, which can be just as important as naming the long-term caregiver. And then last thought for you, consider keeping a notebook for your pet that includes important details like the pet's name, a description of the pet, a picture of the pet, age, health, any special care instructions, maybe behavioral information, how do they behave, veterinary information, and the like. And if this information is needed on an emergency basis, the notebook will be available and up to date with critical information. So, hey, if you'd like to know more about how you can create a legacy for your pet and perhaps putting in place a pet trust, and if you'd like to know how we can help, I encourage you to go ahead and schedule a free 15-minute discovery phone call with us. You can use the Book Now button on our Facebook page, or just call us 904-880-5554, or Google us, Legacy Planning Law Group. So Hey, if you've enjoyed this talk, I would ask that you like this video on Facebook, or better yet, share it. Again, I'm really trying to get the word out, and share, share, share. I would be greatly indebted to you. So, hope you've enjoyed this talk. Create a legacy for your pet. Again, as I said at the beginning, I plan on giving another talk next Thursday at about this time. Same day and time, just a little different topic relating to estate and elder law. So if you're thirsty for knowledge, we will quench your thirst. So Bill O'Leary, signing off for now on behalf of everybody here, a great team, Team Legacy that I have. I want to wish you a good day. Go make it a great day, and better